Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Nioh on the GeForce GTX 1050 2GB. For FPS monitoring, I'll be using CAM. If you want to download the software, there's a link down in the description. And if you enjoy the content and want to support the channel directly, there are Humble and Amazon affiliate links down in the description as well. So Nioh, I'll be doing 1080p, 900p and 720p. To skip none of those sections of the video, check the description below. So well, this is how this video will look. I'll do those three resolutions I just mentioned, but each of those will have two configurations linked to each. So we'll have 1080p with the maximum settings, and then we'll have 1080p with the lowest settings to see if we can get 60 frames per second. Unfortunately, the only way to get constant 60 frames per second, at least for me, was to play at 720p with a mix between medium and low settings. And in the case of 900p, for example, I just lowered everything to the minimum except in shadows, which I kept on medium. That's because if I turn off shadows, the game looks significantly worse, and we had like 2 or 3 FPS more, which is kinda ridiculous if you ask me. But anyway, you can be over 50 frames per second with some drops to 48 frames. We also don't have a texture quality option, which I mentioned in previous videos, but so far it seems to be fine with this GPU. I didn't run into any annoying stuttering. I only ran into that very briefly when going from one area to another, when you're just switching between areas. I mean, it's just a second or two, a big stutter, and then you get into a new area loaded and it's fine. But yeah, now I'm going to talk to you about the options and all that kind of stuff. So this game has an external options menu outside of the game, a launcher. That is the only way to change resolution, so keep that in mind. Inside the game you can only change shadows, frame rate cap, ambient occlusion, camera motion blur and dynamic reflections. So if you want to change the resolution, you have to be outside of the game. So in the launcher we have all the options that I mentioned just now, plus screen resolution and rendering resolution. So on screen resolution is the resolution of the screen, and rendering resolution is the internal rendering resolution of the game. So I'll just suppose that rendering resolution on high means native resolution. So if you're using something like medium or low, it should be lower than the native resolution you chose above. And the options that gave me the biggest hit in the frame rate were pretty much all of them. Shadows and ambient occlusion are the biggest hits so far, so if you lower them you should have the best performance. Dynamic reflections was a smaller hit, but it's still noticeable, and camera motion blur was just annoying to my eyes, but it was also a small hit. So I recommend you just experiment with that. And for some reason, shadows on low run worse than shadows on medium. So I recommend, if you're lowering shadows, use medium shadows or turn them off, because low shadows just runs worse for some reason. It just seems to be a bug. And my testing methodology was first to show you the first level of the game, where there's a castle, it's raining, there are a few enemies on screen, there are particles, all that kind of stuff. For some reason that's what ran the worst for me. And then I went into a bigger area of the game. There is fire, there is water, there are more enemies on screen, there is some foliage. So I decided to test that, and it runs better. So I just show you a small map that has a lot of reflections, rain, particles, and a bigger map that also has particles and many enemies on screen. So I show you the worst case scenario of what I played so far, because I cannot play the entire game before doing a video like this. I don't have enough time, unfortunately. So just keep in mind that in places that rains, there's foliage plus particles, you have the biggest performance hit, like I showed you at the beginning of the video. And this game also needs a texture quality option, which is missing, so people with 2 GB of VRAM can run the game better. And well, not much else to say. The game is capped at 60 frames per second, unlocked frame rates will be nice. And on the CPU side, it seems to just stutter when I'm switching between areas. The CPU sometimes spikes to 100% and then goes down again. So it seems to be just when it's loading new assets in between areas. Other than that, the game ran the same for me on the G4560 and a better CPU like a Ryzen 3 1200. So I wouldn't mind too much about a CPU. It will just make the game more stable when you're going between areas or loading new areas. So yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
ir este mirar todo bien.